this is what we are giving. We are giving P to be this set, right? So people within this set is the most important thing. We have which people are here, n, right? So n has a condition to be an integer, so that's very, very important. So people inside this room here is what we are calling what? Integer. They are not human being, they are not goats, they are not anything, but they are what? They are integers. So you should know the integers. That's the negative and positive numbers, right? So there's a condition attached to that says that n is greater than 10 and n is or less than 20. So don't go according to this. So definition, I have a video on that, so if you have a problem, let me know, right? So here we are looking for n, so that n should be greater than what? 10. So if you are greater than 10, then you are an integer. It means that you are starting from 11, right? So 11, 12, is that okay? And then 13, 14. Where are we going to end? But remember, there's another condition that says that our n here should be less than 20, right? So it means that we are going to end somewhere on 19. So here you have 15, then 16, 17, up to 19, right? So up to 19, that is what we are having. But the question is asking us to find the value of q, right? So this is the q, the value, the set of q. And then furthermore, we are told that the q here is a subset, meaning that q, whatever is inside this q here, can be found what in P, right? So this is the meaning of this subset here. The subset says that Q is a subset of P, meaning that Q can be found in P. Q is inside P. Any elements of the Q here can also be found in P, right? So this is what we are giving. We are giving this thing to P. There are two ways of solving this thing here, right? Since we have the values of the n here, someone can go for the n, the values of the n one by one, and then plug it inside of this thing, this inequality here, right? So we are having 55 and then minus 2n greater than or equal to what? 25, right? So this is what we are having. Someone can pick the values of the n here one by one and plug them inside this definition and see whatever you are going to get at the end, right? So maybe that is fine, that is you. So maybe the one way of solving this, you must make sure that you are solving this inequality here, right? So that is the first step here. So make sure that you solve this inequality here. Just look at this thing to be an equal to sign. So what are we going to do? We are taking this 55 here to the other side of the equation, right? So maybe in some cases you can subtract 55 from both sides of the equation. Solving this inequality by subtracting 55 from both sides of the equation, or maybe you can take this 55 to the other side of by changing the sign, which is a positive here, that tends to be what? A negative, right? So that's also I had a negative 2n greater than or equal to 25 minus 55 here. So remember, we are looking for the n, so we are going to divide by any number that is attached to the n here, right? So by doing that, we have a negative 2 that is attached to the n here, so we are going to divide everywhere by negative 2. But one thing you must not forget in what inequality is that whenever you are dividing by a negative number, the sign here changes, right? Does it make sense? So whenever you are dividing by a negative number, the sign changes. So by subtracting this, you have negative 30. So divide by what? Negative 2 will give us what? This sign has to change. Don't forget that, right? So this sign here has to change because we are dividing by what? A negative number. So we had our n to 15, right? So n is less than or equal to what? Equal to 15. Fine. If n is less than or equal to 15, what are we going to do here? But remember, we are told that q is a subset of p here, right? So it means that anything inside this thing can be found, as I already said here. So if n is less than what? 15, then it means that we are going to have less than or equal to 15, right? So we are going to have 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15, right? To be the members of for the q, right? So q here is going to be what? 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15, up to 15. Does it make sense? Right? So these are the values of for the q here, right? So as I said, someone can choose to plug in the values of the n into this inequality and verify, and that is your okay, baby. I believe that this is the simplest way to go about. If you have any question, don't forget to comment down below. The set y is being given as negative 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 5. If you are someone who has followed this platform for some time now, you know the way I prefer to read this double inequality is that by standing at a letter that is missing. This is what I'm looking for, the values of the x, people that are x. So reading from this point gives me the idea on how to easily identify the people that I'm looking for. So what I mean by the people here is that the x here, from one side, from this point here, x is greater than or equal to, always the bigger point, right? So here is always the greater than, right? So don't be confused here. So x is, reading from this direction here, tells me that x is greater than maybe 2, right? So when I go this way, I can say that 2 is less than x. Don't be confused about this thing, right? So the idea here is that when x is greater than 2, then it means that x starts from maybe 3, 4, and so on and so forth, right? So here the idea is that x is greater than or equal to -2, meaning that -2 is part. Remember, greater than or equal to, so you are greater than or equal to -2, meaning that -2 here, and then -1, right? So if you see the number line this way, you can see that -1 comes before it, -2, -4, so 1, 2, and then 3, right? So going this way, so -1 is always greater than -2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so here we have our -1, and then we also have 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Where are we ending? So getting to this point, x is less than or equal to 5. So you are less than or equal to 5 years, or maybe you are less than or equal to $5, or and so on and so forth. Try and bring in something that you should be a little bit away from the numbers. Is that okay? So x is greater than or equal to 5 years. So less than or equal to 5 years, then meaning that you are up to 5 years here, right? So that is what the first set that you have. So the second one here, maybe I guess you should pause the video and try this thing, right? Okay, so here we have our x to be greater than 1. So greater than 1 years, I mean that we are starting from 2. Does it make sense? So as you are greater than what? A year old. So if you are greater than a year old, then it means that you are moving from let's say 2 and then 3, right? So let me change the pen here, and then let me use a red pen for this set. So we have a 2, 3, and then 4, 5. Where are we going to end? So yeah, we are going to end at 5. So because you are less than 6 years old, right? So you are less than 6 years old, then it means that you are not up to 6 years, right? So then we are going to end at this point. So now the question says that we should represent this guy on a number line, right? So this guy here is y union w. So the meaning of the union is that we are going to combine these two people. So this set here is for the y, and this is also for the w. So combining these two people, so this is what you have, y union w, right? So union w, so starting from the -2, meaning that we are combining everything together. So -1, 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5, right? So this is what we are going to represent on the number line. How do you do this thing? So the idea of a number line in this case is that these are the people within the set. Is that okay? So starting from this guy and then ending on this guy. Does it make sense? So it's very simple and straightforward. Just draw a number line as it is. Always make sure that you bring in the 0. So go with the last two numbers. So last two numbers, what I mean by here, we are ending on 5, and then here we are also ending on -2, right? Okay, perfect. Now the point here is that, so starting with the last number, so 0 is here, 0 is here, and then you draw a line perfectly. Is that okay? So now the final part is that, are we going to shade or we are not going to shade? So we must shade. We must shade because here the -2 was part, right? So see, look at it. X is greater than or equal to. So if 2 is part, a -2 is part. If you are part, then it means that we are going to shade. And then finally, we have less than or equal to 5. So 5 is also part. If 5 is also part, then you must also shade this point, right? So you must shade the 2. Is that okay? So shading here, shading here. So this is a very simple number line.